First, my older sister, she told me that there's a new virus coming out. I was scared because I get like paranoid easy. And I thought like we were all gonna die. First, my grandma got COVID and she told me that like she could barely breathe and stuff. So I thought I was gonna like barely breathe if I ever get it or die, because a lot of people die from it.
I sat on the Friendship Center board, and I was the actual chairman, and we were going through a lot of processing trying to help people with COVID when it first started here in La Loche. We actually got locked out from the south. We were treated back like we were back in the 1800s when they were taking people and putting them on reservations, said if you come out we'll shoot you. We're pretty well locked out to that.
We couldn't go to stores, we couldn't go to school, no work, absolutely nothing. Couldn't go out of town either. We couldn't go south for groceries. Went out of town like maybe once a month for groceries.
When I first heard about COVID, my initial thought was, I was kind of scared for my family, and I was scared that the virus was going to come to Loon Lake too and hurt my community. Well, when the school first shut down, I was shocked because I didn't know what I was going to do then, because school was my life. I had to stay inside most of the time, so now I just got a little bit big. Yeah.
When I first heard about it, it was really scary. People were getting sick here. I was scared for it. I didn't want to get COVID or anything till I did get it.
My first thoughts on COVID was I didn't know it was going to be big. And it got worse.
Well, I thought it was like, just another flu. Nothing too serious until everything started showing up on TV, and it's like, people are dying, people are getting sick, and that's how I seen it.
After hearing like how it kills, after hearing how bad it was, it scared me.
When I first heard about COVID-19, it didn't come to La Loche yet, but I didn't think it was going to come to La Loche because we're so far north, right? And then so once I found out that it came to my town, I was pretty worried. Like I was worried sick. Like I was like overthinking about it. Like this is a killing virus. Like I read so much about it, and like it's like kind of paranoid me, and like how sick people could be, and especially for older people, right?
I was worried about getting it because of my age, and I thought it would hit me hard. When it first came about, when it was talked about, I didn't think much of it. Then in 2019 of March, I traveled to Estefan to play the Masters Provincial Curling Championships. I played one game Friday night, then we're all ready to play the second game, and they sent us home. That's when I knew that it was serious.
I was terrified. Like I thought about my kid, and then the children, the elders. I was scared of what I seen on the TV, like how the effects were and how people were taken away and they were in isolation and whatnot. I was thinking about, what do I do? Like how much sickness is it? Like what is the side effects of it?
According to the World Health Organization, coronavirus, or COVID-19, is caused by the SARS-CoV-2 virus. It's spread from person to person through tiny, small droplets from your mouth and nose, when you speak, when you sing, when you sneeze, when you cough, even when you breathe. Most people that are infected with the virus experience mild symptoms and they recover very quickly. However, some people experience more severe symptoms and take longer time to recover. It can be more dangerous when you have a pre-existing medical condition and then you also get the COVID-19 infection. Your body's already under so much significant strain with its pre-existing condition, like diabetes, for example, and now you have an infection on top of it all. Your body has to work twice as hard as compared to somebody else's body who doesn't have any pre-existing conditions.
For those who have a mild case of COVID, can expect to recover within 2 weeks. Those with a more severe case of COVID can expect to recover in weeks or months. The most common symptoms of COVID are fever, chills, cough, loss of taste and smell, joint pain, as well as muscle and body aches.
I actually got COVID back in 2021, September 13th. I couldn't be active as much as I was, and all I did was just lay in bed for like almost a month.
I was sick and I had stuffy nose and stuff, like coughing a little, so I went to school. I had to put on a mask, my mom told me. So on my way to school, I went to my classroom, sat down for a bit, And then my teacher got a call from my mom. I went on the phone with her, and I was like, hello, and she was like, come home right now, I think you have COVID. So then I went home, and then yeah, I did have COVID, so I had to stay in my room.
My experience with the COVID was pretty scary. I didn't know what to expect. I made sure I wore a mask because I wanted to keep my children safe and my grandchildren. So I isolated with my family for a while until I felt safe.
I got COVID last year, but mine was just mild. I was mostly tired, sleeping, and then my son got it, and then he was mostly coughing, hacking, and everything, and then after that, 3 days later, we were fine. When the first time it came out, my ex-father-in-law died from COVID. All he did is went to a gas station, went pay for gas, came out, and that's how he got it. When I knew somebody that died with COVID, it's like, okay, this is serious stuff. We gotta make sure we're clean, take showers, and sanitize everything, even your vehicle and stuff like that.
I had COVID before. I couldn't taste stuff. I couldn't like smell stuff too. And I had to stay in my room for 1 week. And I couldn't stop coughing.
I decided to take my family on holidays to Banff, Alberta to Jasper. And on our way there, I started getting sick. We stopped in Callaway Park. And that's pretty well what I remember for the next 2.5 months. I was completely out. And when I came to, I was in Saskatoon with COVID at St. Paul's Hospital. Unable to feed myself, unable to walk. So it was pretty tough on family. My wife and my daughter stayed beside me throughout my whole ordeal. So I laid in a hospital bed for 8 months without moving.
Everyone in my family got it. You know, all of my 3 sons got it, and they were living with me. Then my wife and all her kids got it, and they were living with me. I never did get it. My brother Jerry got it. He didn't get to the ICU, but he had some breathing apparatus on him and stuff like that. And I lost a brother, well, 2 brothers, lost a grandmother to COVID. So.
I caught COVID while I was on a family vacation, but I didn't feel anything until I came home to take my usual COVID test when I come home from somewhere. It said positive, and I had no symptoms showing, no nothing. I was okay. My body was perfectly fine, and I lost my smell and my taste. But I got my taste back, but I still have no smell. And I had my COVID a year ago.
COVID was scary. When I first got it, I thought I was just having a cold. Me and my kids and my spouse, we went home, and then I told them, let's just go to the hospital in Meadow Lake. I went there, and I had COVID plus pneumonia. I stayed in the hospital while my kids had to sleep in the truck because there was no hotels there that night. If I got worse or something and couldn't take it, they would fly me out to Saskatoon. And so that's what they did. I was still getting worse and worse, like I couldn't take it anymore. So they asked me if they wanted me to go on the ventilator. And then I said, okay. Well, they told me I had a 50-50 chance because I was pregnant at the time, 16 weeks. And as soon as I made up my mind, I called my mom and told her that they're gonna put me on the ventilator. And then, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
When they told me I had the 50-50 chance, I was kind of scared of losing my pregnancy because after 12 years later, I had got pregnant again. And then I told my mom, I said, it's okay. I miscarried one before. I'm okay with this one. I was in the RUH intensive care for about a week. until they put me in a room, and then I had to stay there for another 5 days just to quarantine. I was missing my baby so much that I just wanted to go home. My thoughts on the COVID vaccine was I didn't believe in it because it just like happened right away. I don't know why I didn't want to get mine, but I still don't want to get it. I just think it's been made pretty fast, and even with the vaccine, you still get sick and still catch COVID. So there's no point of me getting it. The vaccine, it's either you want to get it or not, but my choice was my choice of not getting it. So I won't tell no one not to get it. I asked my doctor of how the vaccine would affect my baby and how it would affect anyone, but I still didn't want to because I was scared. I was just unsure ultimately.
Both the National Advisory Committee on Immunizations plus the Society of Obstetricians and Gynecologists of Canada have signed off on the safety of COVID-19 vaccine in pregnancy, while breastfeeding, and in those who are planning to get pregnant. Evidence of the safety of the vaccine in pregnancy actually comes from real-world data that has been collected from those who have already been vaccinated against COVID-19 while pregnant. What the research shows is that we are more concerned about a pregnant woman actually contracting COVID-19 because of the risks that are associated with the infection during pregnancy. Women that are pregnant that become infected with COVID-19 are at a greater risk of severe complications and hospitalizations. They can even be at a greater risk of severe birth outcomes, like lower birth weights, NICU admissions, and even stillbirths.
I was actually happy to hear about the vaccine coming because I was ready to take it. I was ready for anything because nobody understood this pandemic. Nobody understood. There's a lot of theories, a lot of scholars out there. Even some of my non-Indian friends were advising me on this. They're saying it's just a man-made, some anything to do with, I don't know, they got a whole bunch of theories on it, But I didn't listen. I was ready to take any vaccine. At least it would give me a chance, I thought.
Some people didn't like getting the COVID vaccine because they thought that it had like a little bit of the COVID sickness in there. And some people were okay with it, some people were not. But I was definitely okay with it because I wanted to get it.
When I first heard about the vaccine, I was like really hesitant because of everything I've seen on the internet and everything I've heard from people and how like, oh, it's gonna make you a zombie. You've heard about that stereotype a lot. And it's like, I heard it so much and I was like, do I really want to get it? Like, could this affect me in the future? Is it really a safe vaccine for me or the people in my community? And I finally thought about it and then I just went for it. I got it and I was like, okay, it's not that bad. And then, yeah, I feel fine now. Like, everything's good.
The types of vaccines that we are working with in our communities that we service with MLTC are Pfizer and Moderna. So when it comes to the types of COVID vaccines that I'm going to talk about today, it's only going to be these two that I address. Both of them are mRNA vaccines. These vaccines are designed to work by sending a message to your body to produce cells like the harmless spike protein found on the outside of the coronavirus. Our bodies then start developing antibodies in response to these spike proteins found. Antibodies are like a protection system, a surveillance system, if you will, and they're designed to monitor and attack a threat when found. So now these antibodies are on the hunt specifically for the COVID-19 infection. So when it is found, if you are to be infected later on in the future, it will be able to recognize the COVID-19 virus, attack it, and eliminate it. This whole response that happens in your body is what is known as immunity.
When the vaccine first came out, I said I was never ever going to take it. But they were worried about me because I have health issues with my lungs. So they kept encouraging me to take it. And then COVID was just spreading like crazy. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna have to try this. I'm gonna have to take a chance. So I did. So I went and got vaccinated and nothing happened to me. I was fine. So now I do get vaccinated.
So when there was like word of mouth that the COVID-19 vaccine would be introduced here in my hometown, I was like honestly so happy because it felt like a beacon of hope. It was like the light at the end of the dark tunnel that we found ourselves in, right?
My parents were like, you should get it because they got it too, right, for their safety and my safety. So then I thought about it, and I thought about my nephews, my niece, and how it could protect them and me if I get it, because the symptoms would be lower, right, and the chances of them getting COVID would be lower. But I was like really afraid of the vaccine at first. Like I thought about it so much, and like I educated myself so much about it. And then I eventually got it, and the vaccine kicked my butt, like bad. Like it took like everything out of me. I had like really bad cold sweats, and I was like shaking. Like I had like body sores, like everything. Like I had really bad headaches. But then it only lasted like a day and a half maybe, and then it went away afterwards. I stayed on like Tylenol and everything, keep myself hydrated.
I think there's some that are still scared to get it because it probably wouldn't harm them, or maybe there's chemicals or bad stuff that comes with the vaccine and everything. But I have the 3 shots and I'm fine. And my brother too, like with the muscular dystrophy, he's fine. And he beat it, and he just had COVID here not too long ago, and the nurses said if he didn't have all those shots, he wouldn't be here today, but he survived.
I was hesitant at first to go and get it, but it was tiring. Like a few hours later, you're just groggy and sleeping, and your arm was sore and it was so numb for a couple days. But then the second shot was not as bad. So I got that like 6 months after. It wasn't as bad as the first shot. I was scared of the side effects mostly. Like some people got it worse, and they said, I was sick for a week. I was sick for this long and my body ached and everything else. Then I thought about, I'm scared of that. Then when I did get the shot, I had no side effects, only a sore arm. And that was just 2 days, and that was it.
The first one wasn't too bad, like mild sore arm and stuff. It wasn't too bad. The second one was kind of a different, like, the whole body was just sore muscles and everything. But it only lasted about a day. I usually make a joke out of that, because it felt like 10 guys jumped me. It felt like that. If it was 9 guys, I could have taken, but this was 10 guys, I usually say.
When I first heard about the COVID vaccine, kind of felt happy because I can probably go play with my friends again, because I never played with them for a couple months, more than a couple months.
When I heard about the vaccine coming to Loon Lake, I was so happy that I was finally going to be safe from COVID and get a vaccine, so then I could finally return back to school. So I did hear a few stuff about the vaccine. I heard that, it was developed too quickly and all that, but I didn't care. I just wanted to get it and be safe from COVID already.
I work in a school setting, and every day we have students that are around us, and in order to protect ourselves, we have to protect the students too, because they leave us at the end of the day and go home to parents and guardians.
I was specifically scared about myself catching the coronavirus, or even one of my family members catching the coronavirus, because I have small siblings that are at high risk of hospitalization and stuff like that, and I don't want them to get really, really sick or even die as a result of COVID-19.
The more people are vaccinated, the more protection for the community as a whole. So this is herd immunity. The goal of any immunization program is to achieve herd immunity. Even if you do not see the infection as a threat to yourself, you must remember you are protecting others that may not be able to get the vaccine. Some people are immunocompromised and can still have severe symptoms, even though they are vaccinated themselves.
I would like to see some answers in the future, why did it happen, because you hear a lot of people saying it's man-made, if we get some answers why, maybe we can be prepared for the next one.
SARS-CoV-2 virus came from the family of viruses known as coronaviruses. Some of the viruses in this family can affect humans. Some of the viruses in this family can affect animals. When it comes to the origin of where exactly COVID-19 came from, they're still trying to pinpoint exactly when the infection occurred. But what they do believe is that at some point in 2019, that the virus was able to jump the plane of only infecting animals to now being able to infect humans. And our global pandemic started shortly after that.
When I see information regarding COVID-19 on Facebook or any social media site, I tend to be skeptical of it. Even even like when I do like my research and it turns out to be true, I just, at the first step is being skeptical, like do not trusting any word that comes out of the people's mouths other than like Health Authority or Health Canada and doctors and stuff, verified doctors and stuff like that.
Usually I got my information just from online, like can be from CBC News, from watching the news in the morning, and like all like the amount of people who got vaccinated and how these people are feeling afterwards.
I don't always believe everything I see on social media, so I don't go to social media as much for more information. I go to research or just ask some questions from other people.
Well, what I did was, me and my common-law, we sat down and talked about it. Then we went through, like, checked the news, the updates, and we just thought about it, and we talked about it, and finally we came to an answer and said, let's just have the shot. Not just for us, just for our son. We don't want him to get affected, but he did get affected by it. But then, you know, like, he was only sick for a week. And I was sick maybe 2 days, and that was it.
Social media is a great place to stay connected with family and friends, but it's also a very large area of misinformation that spreads rather quickly. So when it comes to concerns regarding your health, you should speak to medical professionals.
If you are looking for credible resources, please look at the Government of Canada, Saskatchewan Health Region, NITHA, and MLTC.
In reality, I didn't trust the government about the vaccine. They make a lot of lies on stuff. My family didn't trust the vaccine. Pretty well all my kids didn't trust the vaccine. When I got sick, I should have trusted the vaccine. In reality, I should have trusted the vaccine because I didn't expect to get this sick. Me being Métis and my family all First Nation, we don't trust the government. We never, ever since I remember, I never trusted the government. My grandmother never trusted the government. My mom and them never trusted the government. They said too many lies came from them. They speak evil. I remember my grandmother saying one time.
When the COVID-19 vaccine came out here to the community, like in the lodge, there was a health center where vaccines were being provided to people. The initial reactions were skepticism and distrust because of my people's history with being abused and mistreated in the health systems. They didn't trust it because of the mix of distrust, because of the generational trauma thereof, and the mix of the misinformation being on social media and in some cases both of these things combined.
I think a lot of people that didn't believe in the vaccine is because it was created too soon. Usually when they're making that vaccine, it takes years, and they said it's too soon. They think something's put in it, and they just didn't trust it. And for my people, culturally, that's just something that they don't believe in. They believe in their own medicine. Like my auntie never believed in the vaccine, so none of her kids got vaccinated, and they're still fine today.
So the mistrust from the government, from the First Nations community, stems back to the residential school. The elders, now that the government targeted for the first vaccine, are now 70, 80, 90, and that brings back the trauma from when they were 5, 6, 7 from the residential school.
I believe that the mistrust in the government from First Nations communities was definitely impactful when it came to the rollout of the vaccine. We all know that a lot of the mistrust that comes from First Nations communities to the government stems back from residential schools. We need to understand that there's still trauma and healing from this era and this dark history, and we just need to be more respectful and understanding and listen.
Well, some of my family members were saying, don't do it, just rely on our traditional medicine. And I thought, I can't. I had to do it for my son. I thought about my son, and the children I work with. I didn't want to spread it to them. Like, I thought about everyone else besides myself. Like, for me, I grew up with my grandma. She thought about herbs and whatnot. People come to her, and then, I thought about that only. Like, maybe use the white way and our way. So I thought about doing that, and so I did.
Before my father passed on, I went to his place in Saskatoon. He was an elder at Sahgaiehcan High School. I was coming up with this little, I don't know, a cough or something. He said, I'm going to make you something, he said. I'm going to make you this medicine. It was here for a long time. He called it Nyungatig, 4 together. And there's 4 different plants in that medicine. He said, I'm bringing this back, he said, because there's sicknesses coming that the doctor is not even going to know about. And he was right. So I drank it all. That night I heated up. My temperature rose and my cough, I just coughed all night. But the next day it was gone. And to me it was, I was amazed at it. So that white flower is called yarrow. And you put on a bee sting, it'll draw out that venom, that bee's venom. Okay, and then if you drink it, the elder that passed on here was a real good friend of mine. He told me that white flower draws it out, he said. It'll draw it out. So if you drink it, it's going to come out, he said.
I wasn't ready to accept the vaccine in the first place. I thought, well, since I'm an indigenous person, I shouldn't be doing this. I didn't want to accept it. But my granddaughter said they took the vaccine. And I said, okay, then I'll just take it too. And I think it's a good thing because it does work and it helps. Because none of us in our house had COVID. And plus, I want to share with you, I used herb medicine too. The last 2 years, we take our vaccines and we took the medicine at the same time. Then we just drink that every day. None of us got sick. I think it was a good thing that it came out, and I'm sure it helps a lot of people. And my sisters are very medicinal, and they told me, don't take it. It's going to hurt you. You know, you might just start. They think it could do harm to me. And I just about believed them. I took my granddaughter's side. That's how I started to think different. And I thought, maybe this is better because I'm thinking about my grandkids and my grandchildren and my family. And then slowly every one of them started taking it. And I felt good about it after. I think it came from elders, because elders always think that way. And even though, like, I have so much, I have health problems. I'm a real bad diabetic, and I had a heart failure, a heart attack, but then all this stuff I use, they help me get better. And that's where my sisters got it too. But then slowly, my sisters, they got COVID, and then they ended up taking the vaccine. I told them, I told you should have done it right away, and you wouldn't be sick. It's always good to have herb medicine, because that was our survival years ago. There was never any kind of medicine when I was growing up, but that's how we survived this. Our elders, our mothers used to make us herb medicine to get better. And there was no other kind of medicine. There was hardly any doctors in my days.
As medical professionals, there needs to be more acknowledgement and respect to the practice and use of traditional medicine. The COVID vaccine and traditional medicine can work together rather than having to choose one over the other. I believe that we can all benefit from the teachings of traditional medicine.
If you're worried about getting your COVID shot, just think about all the people out there who would want to get a COVID shot, because like before there was a vaccine, they got COVID, so they probably would have wanted a COVID shot.
I would say, there's some diseases we don't understand, And if there's medical staff out there that stand behind this vaccine, that we should take it, I'd rather have a hope and chance than have no hope. I lost a friend, a real close friend, a friend that I grew up all my life with. This friend of mine, he was strong, real traditional First Nation elder. He has a sweat lodge and everything. and he would not get a vaccine. You know, that's what killed him, was COVID. I'd say my friend there, maybe if some other First Nation elder would have spoke to him, maybe he would have listened.
The truth is, we don't truly know why some healthy people die from COVID. There are a lot of theories that are being researched right now to understand why a perfectly healthy person has died from COVID. Some of the theories that they're researching is the genetic makeup of the person. Perhaps there's some genetics that that person has that puts them at a greater risk of having more severe or complicated symptoms of COVID. Perhaps their cells in their lungs make it easier for that virus to invade compared to somebody else that wouldn't have that genetic makeup. The truth is, though, we don't know why. And just because you think that you're a perfectly healthy person that would be able to fight the virus if you became infected doesn't mean that that's the actual case. So it's important to get vaccinated and to protect yourself because we really don't know who could be at risk.
So the final decision to get vaccinated is up to you. However, make sure you are making a truly informed decision.
I'm not going to twist your arm. I'm not going to beg you. But I really suggest you should take your vaccines, your booster shots, until at least this is kind of over with. And I know COVID is not over. It's still there. And I know if I get COVID again, I don't know if I'd be able to pull through this next round. Because if you go through what I went through, it's not a very good life. Today, I still suffer. And I'm hoping life will change, but there's no guarantee anymore.